BP has vowed to pay every legitimate claim, but the House Judiciary Committee says the company has paid less than 12% of the claims submitted so far. It released numbers today showing $600 million in claims have been filed, $71 million paid out. The man chosen to oversee the new $20 billion compensation fund promised today to pay all legitimate claims quickly in 30 to 60 days. That man is Kenneth Feinberg, who's visiting the Gulf Coast and joins us now from Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Mr. Feinberg, as we just said, only a fraction of the claims submitted thus far by Gulf residents have been paid by BP. Why the logjam, in your view?
I think the logjam is that this is a rather unprecedented situation involving thousands of would-be eligible claimants. The president has made it very clear to me he wants those claims paid quicker, in an accelerated fashion with less red tape, and that's why I'm down in the Gulf today to meet with Governor Barber and now Governor Jindal to talk about how to speed up that process.
So how do you think your oversight of this escrow account will change the way things have been done up to this point?
I think that we will be able quickly to promote faster payments to a greater number of claimants in a way that will guarantee that both individuals and small businesses will get the compensation they need quicker, at least on an emergency basis. Then they'll file a fuller claim and we'll be able to evaluate the entire claim and eventually send a final check.
Will BP have any jurisdiction over which claims are actually paid out, or will that company just hand over the money?
That company has no say on the claims that I declare to be legitimate and eligible. And the president has made it clear that this is to be an independent program without administration interference or BP interference. And that's the way it should be. If a claimant feels that person has not been treated fairly, if BP feels that there's been a huge amount in a claim that I have treated unfairly or inappropriately, we'll have some sort of appellate mechanism in this system. But both the president and BP have made it clear I have independent authority here.
I guess the key words are legitimate claims. After Hurricane Katrina, as you know, there were thousands of alleged cases of fraud or overbilling during the claims process. How will you be able to safeguard against that?
Fraud is an enemy of this program. And as we did with the 9/11 fund, you'll recall there were 7,300 claims in the 9/11 fund. 35 were deemed fraudulent. We must make sure that every claim that's filed is legitimate, that it is eligible, that it will be considered on its own merits. They won't all be paid. They will not all be paid. But we have to take a look at each one and make sure that there's no fraud involved at all.
This disaster is ongoing, at least for now. How does that complicate this process?
Oh, it complicates it a great deal. First of all, the emergency payments are interim payments. They're payments without the claimant knowing for sure when is the oil leak going to stop, when will we have a better understanding of my total loss, how will I be able to file a claim that will be a final claim. The ongoing nature of the leak complicates my problems tremendously because many of these emergency payments are just that, first of multiple payments. And we can't really get to a final payment until we know that the leak has stopped and we can evaluate the total claim.
This is very different than the Victims' Compensation Fund you were in charge of following 9/11.
Oh, 9/11 was, as you know, I mean, there were 3,000 dead, 2,300 burn victims, physical trauma. This is a tragedy here in the Gulf, but it is different in terms of the type of claim. It's complicated. These claims are not easy, but it's a different type of claim, and it's a much more pervasive universe of claimants as well.
Will $20 billion be sufficient to cover the losses Gulf residents will suffer?
No one knows for sure yet, but the president made clear, and as I understand it, BP went along, that if $20 billion is not enough, there will be additional funds provided. The president made that an absolute condition, And I'm evaluating these claims without a worry as to whether 20 billion is enough, or 21 billion, or 18 billion. My understanding is whatever it takes to pay legitimate, eligible claims, the money will be there.
Litigation following the Exxon Valdez oil spill took years. Many people weren't paid for nearly 2 decades. You've said this escrow fund will expedite the process, but does it also shield BP from lawsuits?
Not at all. First of all, anybody who doesn't want to come into the fund doesn't have to. This is a purely voluntary program, just like the 9/11 fund. Second, I am confident, based on experience, there will be individuals, there will be businesses, there will be lawyers who will prefer to litigate rather than come into this fund. I would urge every claimant in the Gulf, regardless of whether it's a small business, large business, individual, I would urge everybody to come into this fund. This fund will provide prompt payment, it will have adequate compensation. It will not require that you pay 30 or 40% of your award to your lawyer, and you'll get the money a lot quicker than if you litigate for years and years. But that is your choice. No one has to come into this program and waive their right to sue until and unless they are satisfied with the total amount of compensation. My biggest problem right now, my biggest challenge, is to convince people in the Gulf to take advantage of this program. Don't reject this program concerned about delay or bureaucratic delay. The fact of the matter is this program will work much faster, much more efficiently and quicker by entering the program and not spending years of uncertain litigation time.
Congressman Joe Barton of Texas apologized to BP yesterday for the creation of this fund, which he called a shakedown. He retracted that, but a Republican group issued a statement yesterday saying there's no legal authority for the president to compel a private company to set up or contribute to an escrow account. What's your reaction to that?
BP agreed. I don't know anything about shakedowns. I read the newspapers. This fund and the initial $20 billion is the result of an agreement between the president and the administration and BP. I'm out of that. That's not part of my jurisdiction. My concern is to implement the fund in a way that will maximize benefits to the people in need in the Gulf. And that's why I'm here today in Mississippi and Louisiana. The adequacy of their claim, the legitimacy of their claim, and then they will be paid full compensation.
This position is really that of a mediator. Are you confident you can satisfy the affected parties and BP with the amount of money allotted?
Well, it's a challenge. I must say, every one of these claims facilities, 9/11 and Virginia Tech and Katrina and Agent Orange with the Vietnam veterans, every one of these claims facility programs is a real challenge. If I didn't think we could do it, and do it in a way that the president wants it done, I wouldn't have taken on the assignment.
Ken Feinberg, I know it's very hot down there in Baton Rouge, and I know you have a meeting with Governor Jindal. Thanks so much for taking some time out to talk with us.
Thanks, Katie. Thanks very much.